Good morning, Mets fans, and welcome to a Monday edition of Driving with Mr. Met. I am Mr. Met, and it's been a long time, really long time, actually. The Mets are a different team today than they were last time we talked, and I hate to say it, but I believe this could happen. I'm crazy. I always believe this can happen, which is why when stuff like this happens, I'm always able to say, I told you so. Don't give up on this team. Well, I told you so. Don't give up on this team. This team has been better than its record showed all season long, and it's finally proving it. There's still some warts. We'll talk about them today, but the Mets just completed a 6-1 homestand, just won 15 of their last 17 games, and since I went on vacation and I got back, they put themselves not only over 500, but right into the mix to talk about the wild card and perhaps beyond in the 2019 playoffs. It is appropriate that I am wearing the Magic is Back shirt. I think I've mentioned this before. I don't pick out a shirt intentionally. I don't scour through my t-shirt drawer and pick out a shirt that goes with the day. I kind of have a system of wearing shirts, and then when I wash them, the new ones, the clean ones go on the bottom, and they work their way to the top of the pile. And this one just happened to be on the top of the pile, and it's so appropriate because the Magic is back. I'm sorry, what's happened at Citi Field over the last 2 weeks has been nothing short of magical. But more importantly, what happened Friday night and Saturday night were unbelievable occurrences. Occurrences that happen for teams that are making a playoff run in an unexpected fashion, and that's what happened. That's what's happened with the Mets. They're playing such good ball right now. They've lost one game. 2 games in the month of August. 2. Right, and we're on the 12th day of the month. That's pretty good. We said the Mets have to play 667, 750 baseball here on out. 10-2 gets you there. Now look, it's not sustainable, and I know a lot of the W's came against lesser teams, but what they did this past weekend, taking 2 out of 3 from the Nats, that's not a lesser team. And also, lest we forget, the lesser team that the Mets swept in 4 games, including a doubleheader sweep on Monday, a week ago today, that team beat the Braves 2 out of 3 this past weekend. So, yes, they are lesser teams, but you got to beat them. A lesser team in the Baltimore Orioles walked it off against the Houston Astros yesterday. Yes, a lesser team, but you got to beat them. And the Mets did it. The Mets beat those lesser teams. They've gotten themselves into relevance, back to relevance. For those of you who didn't follow them when they were shitty, for those of you that did, you don't need to be told that this team is better than its record showed. So let's get down to some of the specifics. I mean, I missed a lot of games, obviously, and I had every intention of writing about it while I was on vacation. I just didn't. There were a couple of days when I tried to catch up on my game balls and goats, and I actually did that. That's current up to Saturday. I didn't do yesterday's yet, but I'll do that later this morning. But a lot of stuff happened. There have been a lot of heroes, but I think the number one hero over the last week or so has been J.D. Davis. I mean, J.D. Davis has been in the thick of every Mets comeback, it seems. Whether he's driving in a run with a sacrifice fly or whether he's hitting a big clutch home run, he has been involved in every game in a positive way. And right now the Mets bench is very thin because of the injuries to Dom Smith, because of the injury to Robinson Cano. And the problem with that is that it thrusts J.D. Davis into a position where he has to play every day. Now, he's proven that, hey, no problem. I can play every day. I got this. And he's so far been right. But him being in the lineup every single day makes the lineup the bench that much weaker. And so that's the only downside right now to having JD playing every day, is that the bench and the options for Mickey to go to for pinch hitting late in games is minimal, to say the least. Yesterday's was a perfect example. I mean, he had to choose between Juan Lagares, Aaron Altair, and Tomas Nido. Mickey did, and he went with Altair, who struck out on 3 pitches. Who, by the way, really does not need to be on the Major League roster. I think we're going to see a change there once Rajai Davis gets a couple of games under his belt at AAA. I think we'll see Altair optioned and DFA'd rather, and if he wants to accept it, he'll be back in Syracuse at this time next week. So there's just no reason to have Altair on the roster. It's a waste of a roster spot. He hits about as well as Lagares right now, which is saying something. But anyway, there's so little negative to be upset about. And yet, if you go on Mets Twitter, you'll see half of the people there are still bitching about stuff, and it drives me crazy. Whether they're complaining about the 7 line, or something I had posted last week about the Mets approaching the luxury tax because of their payroll being what it is. People are getting on me about that. I'm like, can't we just be happy? Can't we just be glad that we're in the middle of this unbelievable streak? People are complaining that the Wilpons are the worst, and they never should have cut a Danny Hechavarria because they're cheap and they owed him $1 million. I mean, give me a break, people. Give me a break. Your team is playing. It's the best team in baseball right now. It is the hottest thing in baseball, and you're complaining about stuff. So I always wondered, like, how many of these fans are really fans of the team, or they just like to be miserable. I'm not sure which it is, but as I watch the Mets play so well, I can distinguish who's the shitheads who want to be miserable all the time from those who really are fans and who are just discouraged by the team not playing well. Because those people, the latter folks, they're happy as pigs in shit right now, which is how I am. How can you not be? I mean, how can you not be completely thrilled watching this team do what it's done over the last 2 weeks? It's just been a complete revelation. I for one, am excited for this Mets series coming up in Atlanta. And that game starts tomorrow. That series starts tomorrow. So we have an off day today. Tough loss yesterday with DeGrom. Excuse me, on the mound. Sorry about that. Tough loss yesterday with DeGrom on the mound. I was predicting a sweep. I did that on Friday. And I anchored that sweep on daytime DeGrom going on Sunday. Because Jake is always so damn good during the day. I think he has like a 1-point-something ERA in his career in daytime starts. He didn't have it yesterday. I credit the Nats. They put up some really good at-bats against him. They made him work early. He lifted after 101 pitches in the 5th inning. I don't agree with that decision to pull him from the game. I think he could have easily gone to 115 to 120, pitched the 6th inning, and extended the bullpen a little bit so that perhaps what happened at the end of the game wouldn't have happened. Not that it mattered, because the Mets were losing anyway, right? You know, it wasn't like they went to the bullpen and Edwin Diaz blew the game. That didn't happen. Did he give up another home run? Yes, he did. Did it cost the Mets the game? No, it didn't. They were losing when that happened. So, also, I got to say the DFA Edwin Diaz people on Twitter, real gems. I mean, genius level stuff there, peeps. It's. I'm so glad that you guys don't run a baseball team, because it wouldn't be very good. You'd basically have a team with no one on it, because anytime anyone does anything bad, you'd designate them for assignment. And, you know, because baseball players are perfect, they're not human beings who make mistakes and don't succeed literally every single time they go out there. I'm glad that that's not the case. I'm glad that y'all are behind your keyboard and not in the front office anywhere. One final thing I want to get to today. I am actually going to come back tomorrow and try to put my thoughts together a little bit more about touching on some of the things I missed over the last week plus, and maybe talk about some of the performances individually and whatnot. But the last thing I want to talk about today is this series with the Braves. I think beginning of last week, like a week ago today, people were starting to clamor, hey, the Mets are getting themselves back into the wild card conversation. But look, it's not out of the realm of possibilities that the Mets can get themselves back into the division discussion. And it's not wrong, because the Mets have 9 games with the Braves for the rest of the season. So it can go, of course, one of two ways. The Mets can win those games and leap in front of the Braves in the standings. Whether that means for the division or not is another story, but they can leap in front of the Braves in the standings, or they can lose the games and fall out of contention completely. So the Mets have as good a chance to overtake the Braves based on the number of games they still play against them. I mean, we're talking like almost 25% of the rest of the schedule is against Atlanta, which is huge. So they have as much of a chance to catch the Braves as they do to leap over 3 or 4 teams to get into the second wild card, at least as of this point. So that's the only other thought that I had, and I kind of like it. I kind of like the idea that we're opening up this series with Zach Wheeler tomorrow night. I like the idea that the Mets are all pitching well. I don't love the fact that Steven Matz is pitching the middle game, but whatever, we'll see how that goes. So I think with the Matz thing, we get like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, and he goes from like bad start to good start to bad start to good start. So we'll see. Maybe I think he's due for a good start. Maybe we'll see. That'll wrap it up for today. I was definitely a little rusty after my time away, but I'll be better tomorrow, and I won't be as angry about people being dumb on Twitter, hopefully. So until then, thank you for watching. If you want to follow someone who's not dumb on Twitter, you can follow me at Mr._Met. And you might think I'm dumb. I admit a lot of times I'm crazy with how optimistic I am about this team, about the Mets. But I'm certainly not going to come out there and spew garbage and say that the team is trash. And during a historic streak, talk about how the Wilpons are the worst owners and Mickey's clueless and we need to fire Brodie Van Wagenen, who's a snake oil salesman, and blah, 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 blah. So follow me on Twitter at Mr._Met. Talk to you tomorrow, and as always, let's go Mets.